All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us with another DigiFabster Customer Spotlight. Today we're here with Jerry Sutton from Incremental Engineering, a DigiFabster customer. How's everything going today, Jerry?
Yeah, it's going well actually. Thanks. Yeah, busy.
Good. Well, excited about our chat to hear about your business a little bit. So I guess to kick things off, tell us a little bit about Incremental Engineering. So it looks like you do a bit of design services and kind of both ends of the small scale, small run prototyping, along with a little bit of batch production as well. So tell us a little bit about incremental engineering.
Well, my background is designing machines for scientific instrument makers and things like that. So yeah, there's a design element within the company, but also we find we're generally aiming to work with OEM manufacturers similar to where I used to be in a way. So they've generally got a huge amount of experience in designing for subtractive, so CNC machining and
Yeah,
that sort of thing, but not generally a huge amount of experience in designing for additive. So the design element is pulled in to really help them on that journey into producing parts, not generally for prototype. We do prototyping, but mostly what we're about is making parts for working machines. So
oh,
it's
really?
all
Okay.
it's all end use parts pretty much. We probably do one or two prototyping jobs a week, but literally everything else is going on a machine or on a car, on a scooter, on a bike, on a anything really. So or a
Yeah,
person for that matter. On a person is quite a big part of the business with doing orthotics and AFOs and things like that, and skull orthotics, and yeah, it's utterly random. But generally, the
yeah,
ethos of the business is leading people into using additive as a production tool. A really
yeah,
boring production tool. It shouldn't be exciting. It should be you place your order, you get your parts, they go on your machines. There's no drama, which is what we aim to do.
yeah. That's great. So do you feel kind of is that what separates you? Is that people looking for that entree into additive or to get schooled up onto additive? That's kind of what you like to focus on.
It tends to be, yeah.
Yeah,
Again, I've done that journey as an OEM, so I know it can be a little bit painful. So we're here to try and make it as easy as possible for people, and also to fit into the traditional purchasing model. So this will lead into how we use DigiFabster. Most of our business doesn't come through the online portal. Most of it comes through somebody sending an order on a PDF, which then we have to process. It's old school, but most of the
yeah,
companies we work with work that way. So we would take the PDF, we've got the models, we upload them, we create an order, and then we process it. So we tend to be using the web portal almost more than anyone else. Um, but
yeah.
it's
So that's interesting. You're getting a drawing literally from a PDF, so a non-CAD format, if you will, and then you re-engineer it or put
It
it in
can be. I
CAD.
mean, a lot of the
Yeah,
time we will get the models as well. So most of our customers will produce a PDF order, a PDF drawing, because we're doing more than just print. We'll do finishing. So this week
yeah,
we're doing a deep gloss black and purple painted finish on some parts, which looks stunning. We're doing, well, what else? We're doing vapor polishing and all this sort of stuff. So it's not just a print only service. So there tends to be a drawing that goes along with, which actually you've added recently that they can upload the drawings as well, which kind of works nicely. But
yeah.
yeah, so it's a real variety. I mean, I get orders through WhatsApp, the phone, the email. I actually had one by post not too long ago. Um, but
That's a new one. Yeah,
yeah, I know. Who would have thought? But as long as I don't pay by check, I'm all right. But yeah, so it's really the DigiFabster for us works as a tool to bring everything into one place, so that then we can go on from there to put everything into our production.
Do you notice that more customers now have well have some skills to actually create the model themselves, like create actual ready to print, ready to production model, or it's not like or it's not like
Yeah,
that.
a lot do, yes. Yeah, we see a lot of models that come in that, I mean, I designed for subtractive manufacturing for 25 years, so a model will come in and I'll look at it and think, well, yeah, you designed that to be milled, really, but you've just sent it to me and I'll print it. 9 times out of 10, that can work pretty well, but also we'll then work with that customer over time. And actually, we can generally save them a fortune so that there'll be features they've put into because that's how you would machine it that we just don't need as a additive manufacturing bureau. So we'll go through models with people and say, look, we can take a huge amount out of the cost of this. We can refine the design for that reason, which is probably not the best business idea, doing yourself out of revenue, but it actually makes the whole technique more applicable, wider across more businesses, and we find it's a good collaborative approach.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of educational loop maybe. So you basically educate people, educate your customers, and next time they come to you with some skills already, like they achieved,
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
your help, and so
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you see, I mean, I've seen it in many of our customers where we'll have the first job, it will be a bit, well, to use the English word, a bit ropey, but it will work, and then we'll work with them, and then over time, after 6 months, a year, I mean, as a designer, you pretty much take your brain out, turn it around, put it back in, and then you're an additive designer. It is a different discipline to designing for subtractive, so it does take time. And we find, 6 months to a year later, we're getting print-ready models in that have already been checked. We don't need to fix them. They're done to the right resolution. I mean, the biggest problem we see is people just click create STL and it comes in. We're running our printers pretty close to the knuckle. So if there's any faceting on there, you'll see it. So we tend to send them back and say, look, send us a different format and we'll make our own model for you and work with. Final printable models. Sorry, somebody phoned me.
No worries. Nice. The other thing that I'm wondering, so did you notice maybe that, or maybe not, do you notice that more customers now, like instead of go and order something, some replacement part overseas, so they ordering locally instead of go and find the vendor overseas, or it's the same as it was?
I think probably more so. There's more local ordering going on. But that said, and I would probably say this, not all bureaus are created equal. So we've got a few customers around, certainly the European Union, that know that we're not just going to take a model in, pack it the most densely as we can into the build and build it. We're going to take a model in and we'll orient it in the best possible way for the model, and we'll take the time to look at it and to again go back to them and say, if you change this, we can get a better result for you. So we've got customers in Germany, Italy, France, Spain, all over the EU who are generally looking for the top quality that you can get out of an MJF printer. And that tends to be where we operate. We're not stack it high, sell it cheap. We get it right and get it looking good and working well. So it's different ethos.
It's great.
Yeah, that's great. So DigiFabster was not your first entree into automated quoting. You came from another automated quoting tool. What drove that change? Like something must have impacted that to move to from them to DigiFabster. What drove that?
Two main reasons really. The first reason was I really liked the new front end you guys did probably 2 years ago, I think it was. It's clean, it's modern, it's really nice to use, and I'd seen it on other people's websites and thought, well, that looks like a current tool, whereas my old one was, I mean, it worked, but it was just looking a bit dated. And I think that company was more concentrating on looking at the MES side and the back end rather than actually a nice user interface, or a modern user interface. So actually there was 3 reasons, not 2 actually. One of the other big ones was we run a MJF 580, which is a full color machine. And on your preview, if you click through to the static view, you can get the full color render, certainly from OBJs and WAV files. So that was a big thing for us. It was a big leap to try and expect people to order color models through the web when it was presented back to them in black and white. It just doesn't work. And I think as time goes on, more and more color models will be ordered. So I think it was an important step for me. And finally, I think the API backend was nicely accessible and nicely explainable. So and we did plan on using that. So those were the three reasons, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Just a more rounded, well-rounded for your
Yeah,
needs, right?
it
Solution
suited
for
us
your,
better. Yeah, yeah. In a
yeah, yeah.
nutshell.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So what, bringing your mind back to kind of the beginning of DigiFabster, what was that onboarding process like? Do you remember, like how long did it take and who was involved there on your end?
I was involved.
Yeah.
But how long it took is probably a slightly tricky question. In terms of actual effort, not very long. In terms of me getting round to
Yeah,
doing it, probably a lot longer. But it
sure.
was, I'd gone from a very long and complicated equation for my pricing algorithm, which I'd developed over the previous 5 years, and then had to translate that into a different way of pricing. Broadly, you've got the same variables you can work with, but the way we could apply them was different. So it took me a little while to get the pricing in, get it tested. You guys ran an automated
Yeah.
price equation generating thing, which got it pretty
Yeah.
far. There's probably a really technical proper name for that, but that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, it's called Automagic is what
There you
we
go.
like to
Yeah,
call it.
I didn't get that. But that
Yeah.
worked. That worked. Certainly gave me a really good starting point. And then I spent quite a bit of time. I'm a bit of a control freak, I'll admit, and I spent quite a bit of time going through and actually tweaking that so I could get the pricing to go where I wanted it to go for different sort of solid to volume ratios through to quantities and all the other discount structures and things like that that were in there. So in terms of
Yeah.
absolute time, it probably took me about 2 months. Sorry, not absolute time, but in terms of overall time from start to getting it on board. But in terms of actual effort, I could have been running in about 30 minutes, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Certainly with a basic price model, it would have been very quick. But yeah, my paranoia meant that it took, and lack of time meant it took a bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I think you're on the upper end. We have, customers that come in with no idea how they price things, right? They almost literally use darts, right?
Yeah,
To pricing of the day.
yeah.
And then sounds like you're on the other end of a little too much, maybe a little over engineering going
You
on, maybe,
could
huh,
say
Jerry?
that. I mean, the formula, I mean, literally, if I had it on screen to the size that I could read, it literally went from one side of the screen to the other. It was ridiculous. So
Yeah. Oh man, Constantine, we should hook Jerry up with Peter, or maybe
Oh
we've
they
met,
yeah,
met. But
we
boy, oh
have
boy.
met actually. Yeah,
Oh no.
nice.
we got on all right. Yeah, put it that
Oh
way.
yeah. Matt, and I'm a marketing guy with very little engineering background, and Peter and I have. It's an interesting contrast. That's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, he was good.
that's
He was
awesome.
good.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've had some success in, obviously getting. What's your secret sauce, or what's your secret to getting your customers to adopt automated quoting and DigiFabster, and in general? Sounds like they're really on board with that.
Yeah,
What's your
they're
secret for
getting
that?
there.
Okay.
But to start with, it was discount. It was like if you bother me for a quote, you'll pay 10% more. If you do it online, you'll pay 10% less. Make your choice. So it was a bit
Yeah.
of a hard line to start with. But generally now,
Like that.
people have got the hang of it, and it, even the people who would still rather send or need to because of their system need to send a PDF order. They can't place orders online. They'll still go to the website and they'll still get their pricing from the website, then put it into their system to
Yeah.
generate the order. And yeah, and they're people I trust, so I know that's what they've done. So I normally don't even bother checking their pricing. I just know they've got it from the website and they're good to go.
Gotcha.
If I get an influx of really cheap orders now, I've said that I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. There's some customers I think I'll never get to order online automatically. but a lot have, and it does definitely save labor. But for me, the biggest saving is in actually me generating quotes. And
Yeah, exactly. So you use it either way, right? So you're going to use it
yeah,
internal only,
oh
or
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, yeah,
the
yeah.
way it goes in.
Yeah, I mean, probably 90% of the jobs, because we're working in a production environment rather than in a, oh, I want one of these widgets environment. 90% of the jobs we'll be quoting, there will be things like call off orders where somebody will order 1,000 of something and they want drops of 100 a month. Um, and that's pretty hard to automate. So we'll generate the quote using DigiFabster, and then we'll do the other bit separately. But even that, we're still breaking those orders down within DigiFabster and using it to control our production cycle. So it works well for that as well.
Cool. What what was your quoting process like prior to automated quoting? How long did it typically
Well,
take
we
you?
did have
Back
automated quoting, but it wasn't uh, slick, shall I say? Um, in
Yeah.
terms of getting it into a customer's hands, it wasn't as easy, to be honest. It it was almost involved me pretending to be an external customer of my own, and then it just got complicated. So in terms of
Yeah.
the saving now, it's instant. I mean, I can upload a model. If I wasn't in a very rural bit of England, I could do it even quicker because I'd have a decent internet connection. But
Yeah.
generally, it's once the model's uploaded, it's all pretty seamless, and then it just goes out, and I don't touch it again until it turns into an order. So it's nice.
Do you feel that? I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but has that made an impact on your ability to win business, like first in wins?
Um, Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, it's certainly quick quoting. I think English business generally doesn't go at a huge pace. I think I can probably
Cool.
say. I mean, a lot of the orders we get are for delivery sometime in the next 4 months. So certainly
Mm.
some of the bigger orders, generally they're not. We need this in 3 days' time or 5 days' time for our business. Most people are running MRP systems, and so we do get a bit of forewarning that of what they're going to need and when they're going to need it. So it tends to work
Oh,
well. But I think in terms of slickness to engage with customers, I think it definitely has. I mean, people can get an update on their order. They can see if it's in manufacturing. They can see if it's been dispatched or if it's ready for dispatch. So a lot of the sort of longer orders will, if we've got a quieter day, we'll put some of those on and make them and stick them on the shelf and mark them as ready to ship. And then if that customer decides they want them in early, they can go in, they can look, they can see that their order is actually on the shelf ready to ship and say, oh, can we have that tomorrow? And that's all without involving us. So it's
right.
it's it's a it's a nice labor saving tool for us.
That's really cool. So you, in the back office of DigiFab, so you have all those notifications set up to roll
Yeah,
right out.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah. I think there was most of them were standard, to be honest. So I've not
Yeah.
done a lot on those at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, that's exactly how we're trying to set things up: is DIY or self serve is
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
easy, right?
Yeah,
That's cool.
something that we're noticing, and again, just wondering if it's true or not in your case. So we see that shops that adopt the instant quoting, instant pricing, so it is the way for them to be more transparent with customers. And transparency looks like transparency build more trust with the customers. So they see, okay, so it's not just some sort of the talk to sales rep, request a quote, sort of the button when you have to talk to someone and maybe negotiate the price as
Hmm.
well,
Yeah.
in the first step. So instead you see this like instant pricing, right? Instant quoting, the price that you can like you can pay that and go with the order. So in your case, do you think it helped you to be more transparent with the customers, build the trust as well?
Yes, it does. It's uh, certainly when I think there's an element of disbelief sometimes with people when you say, okay, I can give you a, I try not to give too many discounts because that's my livelihood. But if you do give a discount on a large production order, they can instantly see that if they were to go online, this is the price they would have paid. So they know that you are. I mean, especially when you're a faceless business a long way away that they've not actually met. I mean, people who know me know that I'm going to tell them the truth all the time because that's what I do. But when you're a faceless business a long way away and somebody's contacted them, yeah, it does certainly act as a bit of reassurance for people that they're getting certainly the fair price, and if they're doing a big deal, then they might be getting a better price than a fair price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it totally makes sense. So switching gears a little bit, it does sound like you've really integrated DigiFabster in your business, and of course, we'd love to hear that. You're also using our API. You mentioned it early on, in some, I believe your accounting software is integrated,
Yeah.
right? So, talk to us a little bit about your use of API and integration.
So that was actually, I said 3 reasons for changing. That was the 4th reason, was to get the integration. The integration. I keep coming up with more here. Give me a while. Give me a while. We'll be up to 10.
I love it. I love it. We got all day.
But yeah, so that was the other reason, was actually to get that integration into Xero, because I think I must have had RSI in my thumb from doing copy and paste from orders to accounts and invoicing and stuff like that. It was just ridiculous. So having that direct link was actually quite a big thing for us. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you've got one order that's got, I don't know, 40 line items on it with different quantities, different prices, there's a huge margin for error, but also there's a huge time overhead in putting that order in. Whereas when we do get one of those, even if it's on paper now when the order comes in, I can just upload the models, put the quantities in, and I know the pricing is going to match because that's what was done for the quote. So, and if not, then I can tweak it, and so it does. And then that, as soon as that order is placed, that then is fed straight through into the accounts, and it's just there when we're ready for invoicing. So most of our payments are in effect offline. So we're working with machine integrators and people like that they don't get paid until they deliver. So we tend to give 30 days credit. So we have to raise an invoice from our accounts to do that, which is fine, and it works. But also, one of the things you chaps did put in for me, well, I say for me, it's there for everybody now, but is that we can put the PO number and then actually upload a PDF for the purchase order, which is great, because then that means all delivery notes and everything like that. We had a bit of a backwards and forwards, and then we got it there, and it's on all of the delivery notes or the packing lists and everything like that. So it's fed through the whole system. It's now automatically through into the invoice as well, and that just ties everything together nicely, and it just works. But so that was the sort of native integration to Xero. I didn't have to do anything to make that happen. Well, I think I said, could you do this? And you did it. But then in the API, we've hooked into the back end of DigiFabster, and we've in effect written our own MES software to control production. So we've hooked in. We download every single job that comes in, and that was one of the other. I say I've got up to 5 now. Another reason we can actually offload the thumbnail of the model from the back end of DigiFabster. So rather than having to upload all of the models into our MES, we can actually just upload a thumbnail, which just saves on overhead. So I'm in rural England, so the more I can save sending models up into the cloud and back, the better. So yeah, so then that controls what we've got to do, when we've got to do it by, what builds everything is going into. That produces parts labels, all of the normal stuff for us. So, but then it works straight through the system. So as soon as that orders into DigiFabster, then it then follows through everywhere else for us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we lean on that. You guys are the ones using this stuff day in and day out, right? So that customer feedback is super important, as you noticed. And often all it takes is a little bit of a squeaky wheel reaching out to us, and we'll get that stuff implemented pretty quick. We have a pretty lean.
To be fair, I'm normally pretty good at breaking software. I've not managed it yet. Apparently.
Yeah. I mean, that's until you're, everybody's workflow is slightly different, right? Until you can kick it around and break it, and breaking it isn't, it's just, this would be better if, right? We love to hear that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
thank you much for
Yeah, we did have quite a few of those right at the very start, and to be fair, most of them are there now, and we're happy. I'll always come up. I'm
That's
always
great.
come up with more, but got to keep you busy somehow.
That's right. Yeah, keep that roadmap long enough. There we go. Great. So what do you feel is next for you guys for incremental engineering? What's your
Well, we're running 3 HP printers, vapor polishing, dimension dyeing and smoothing and all that kind of jazz, assembly, and really the next step for us is probably take a breath. Actually, we've been growing at least 2 or 3 times over per annum for the last three,
Wow.
4 years now. And last year was a doubling in turnover. This year is looking almost the same again, to be honest. So,
That's awesome.
so it's yeah, hopefully take a bit of a breath and probably finish all of the integrations we need to finish, because they're not all quite as slick as I described yet, and that's our end at the back. It's not quite doing all my job for me. So we've got a little bit of work there to do. But it's really just making everything a little bit slicker, and growing and talking to more new people.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, to grow at that rate, you're right. You learn really quick how lean and how efficient, right? And automation is a key for that kind of growth.
It's
That's wise.
essential. I mean, at any one
Yeah.
time we can. I mean, I'm looking to my right now to our build schedule at the moment stretches out for the next 4 weeks, and
Wow.
and that's on average probably between 50 and 200 parts per build. Some of them, there's certainly one in there which is over 1,000 parts. So managing all of that and getting the right parts to the right people at the right time, and
Yeah.
looking as good as they can look it's a thing. It's a challenge. And so
Oh, I bet.
anything we've got that makes it easier, hey, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, and we're happy to be a part of that. So we'll take care of the front and back end.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
The middle is all you,
I'll
Jerry.
just worry about the difficult bit in the middle.
Everything else, exactly. Yeah. Kind of related. Do you see any big shift? I shouldn't even say big, right? Or do you see any? What kind of shifts do you see in the industry here coming up? Do you feel like there's anything you need to keep your eyes on?
I think generally, to hark back to something I mentioned at the start, it's basically becoming boring, which sounds bad, but that's what I'm aiming for. Additive production.
Meaning it's trusted.
Exactly. What I mean is it is a tool in a production armory. It's not
Yeah.
it's not something you try out because you want to see something. It's something when you're designing a machine and you think, how am I going to make this bit? The first thought is becoming,
Yeah.
for certain parts, obviously not all parts, can I do it additively? And if I can, great. If I can't, then I'll have to machine it or injection mold it or something else. Obviously there's questions of volume and size and things like that, but in general, hopefully it's a normalization of the additive market into becoming just another way of making stuff, which it is
Yeah.
for us already. I mean, that's what we do every day. So, but I think it's spreading that knowledge far and wide and helping people on that journey, I think.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think I love to hear that and you see that firsthand because your model is again introducing people that would normally produce things via CNC or other means of manufacturing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting them up to speed with additive. You're growing the
Yeah,
game.
and it is. I mean, it is even within any company we deal with. You see it right from the start. You'll see like the first few bits come in, and then you'll see the sort of switch flicks, and then you see more and more and more and more and more bits coming in, and it's great. You just see that people see the benefit of what you do, and keep doing it and do more of it. It's it's great.
Well, your name of incremental engineering is fitting in that case, right?
Yeah, I did give that a lot of thought, but the only thing I didn't do was think about the domain name. It's a long thing to have as your email address, which you guys have nearly
Yeah.
trumped with DigiFabster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But not quite. I still beat you on that one.
have more characters. Ours might take the a different more of a unique spin on
Yeah,
it.
indeed.
So,
Yeah, so it's but yeah, it's kind of it is what we're aiming to do. It's what we do.
great. Well, that's good, Jerry. Constantine, you got anything else for Jerry?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Well, let's talk next year when you roll business over year again, 100% growth. Let's catch
Oh,
up. If not
I'm not
before.
sure I'm ready. No, we are. We're good. We're good. We're scaling in a way that works, so we're good.
I know. And automation.
Absolutely.
Right? I love it. It's great. Yeah. Well, good. That's Jerry with Incremental Engineering, and it's incrementalengineering.com.
That's it. You got it.
So thanks for your time, Jerry. We appreciate it.
Thanks
Thanks,
very
Jerry.
much, Jack.
Thank you
It's
so
nice
much.
to talk to you.
Bye now.
Take care.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.